We're live. Hi, and welcome to Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with photographer Joshua Jay Steele. How you doing today, sexy?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I am good.
You look good.
Yes, thank you. It is amazing. Almost the well, actually, you're a photographer, so I say almost the end of my week at least. You're
Oh,
probably
it just revs up for tomorrow. Like this is like the calm before the storm because I am a weekend person. So I will work my regular job, and then Friday I do like the other stuff. But I'm always doing other stuff too, so I don't get rest very often.
well, yeah. That's my thing. What was it? One of my fans is like, I wish you were doing more music. I would love you to do more music. Did you do more music stuff? I'm like, listen, as I told you this week, this is my third interview. Probably I'm going to do another one on Saturday. It's like, I need, as much as I love getting in drag, my skin needs some time to be a man. Like,
It needs to breathe.
a little
It's
bit.
it's
Like,
it's
maybe a
healthy.
day or two. Like,
Just a siesta, just a little bit.
yeah. Because I am the bitch who does everything sober. So it's like, most people are like, oh, I just go to sleep drunk. I'm like,
So I
I
don't drink.
wish I knew that life. We'll get into it. So, where are
Let's
you
get into it.
originally from?
Okay, so until I was 12, I lived near St. Louis, Missouri, in Illinois, and loved that. And then I moved to Hodgenville, Kentucky. And when I was 12, which is famous for being Abraham Lincoln's birthplace, it was a very small country town. And so I'm mid 30s. So I've been in Kentucky since I was 12.
Let's work. As I was telling you off camera, it's like I am from small suburb South Florida, where let me put it this way, and the reason why I want to leave, granted, yes, I'm usually asleep because of my crazy hours early, but it's like it'd be nice for like things to be open later. Most
Mhm.
things besides bars close at 11 p.m. Like
Right.
that's the kind of town I'm in. Like,
I grew up in it was very small country town. Um, like where I live now is in Louisville, and that's like an hour away. And
yeah,
so grew up small town on a farm when I was
yeah.
12, which was quite a culture shock going from like St. Louis area to small town.
And the thing is, you ran away as soon as possible. I had to do that. Like,
I wish.
well, you ran away eventually. My thing was, what was it? I turned 20 and I basically said, like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, and I just ran away to Orlando. It's like, and who was it? My aunt said at one point, she's like, I never thought you were going to leave. I'm like, but I had to.
Of course.
Like,
Um, and we'll get into it later, but yeah,
you know,
it took me a lot. It took me quite a bit longer than you to leave, but I did leave.
yes. So, what was it like for you growing up as a kid?
Um, so I would say as a kid, I honestly, when I moved to Kentucky when I was 12, like, I would say I was a kid before that. So, like, this time frame was definitely when I was in Illinois. Ugh, I can't talk. Um, I was I was like that kid that was bullied for being gay, even though they didn't know what being gay was. Um, and it was very much 90s, so, like, everyone said I was gay. And I remember being, like, super young, like 7, maybe, and, like, being called gay and going to one of my parents and was like, "Hey, I got called gay. What does that mean?" And this parent looked at me and they said, "It means you like boys, and you don't like boys, right?" And so, like, I just remember at that point realizing I had to deny like who I was, even if I didn't understand all of it. And so, like, what was my childhood like? It was a lot of just like denying a lot of things and being bullied. And I know that's such like a buzzword nowadays, and it's like, no, it's very real. It's very real.
Yes, yes.
It's like, I mean, I was a former teacher too, and we'll probably get to that later, but
Yeah.
bullying affects people still to this day. Still to this day. And so my childhood was my grandmother. We lived in Illinois at the time, close to my grandmother. My grandmother was my best friend. She made me feel seen, like just I could be whoever ever I was. And I grew up Pentecostal, so super conservative. Like, I mean, you have Amish on one extreme. We were not there, but we were kind of close. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't have a TV for a lot of time, a lot of my
Oh wow.
childhood life. Didn't go to the movies. I didn't wear shorts. I wore pants a lot. Um, Controlled would also probably be a good word to say how to describe my childhood. Um, and I always found myself um, kind of always not feeling like I belonged anywhere. Like no one ever really
Right.
knew the right me. Like no one knew the real me.
I mean, I get that. I will say for me, my childhood, I would say is like a bunch of like contradictions.
Mhm.
Cause it's like, yes, I had the conservative like Catholic upbringing, but my mom was also the one who introduced me to Madonna. She introduced me
Oh,
to Donna Summer. So she's like, I had that, but then I had this like conservatism on the other side. So it's like it didn't make sense. Like even my mom used to be the one who's like, this is just to tell you, like in the 2000s when I was growing up, I remember like the whole thing of Madonna being on the like disco cross on the Confessions tour, and like all these Fox News outlets were like reporting about how terrible it was. And then meanwhile, as soon as I got on YouTube, that's what I searched every day because I'm like, I love this.
I I will say my mother was the one that introduced me to old movies. Like that was like the some things we could watch was like so I watched a lot of musicals and I loved it because why not, you know? And so like I do I'm very thankful for that. Like I had some um connection, I guess, to gay culture. I don't know if that's the right word to say it, but just like those things that like Wizard of Oz, like those, like I did have those memories. Like I have those,
Yes,
like those things
yes.
that are like iconic that we all relate to. Like, oh, I know these things.
No, what was it? My one, I remember one thing, like when I was 12, my mom introduced me to like introduced me to one of my favorite comedians of all time, Joan Rivers. Like
Yes,
how she had this like special on Bravo, and my mom's like, "This isn't the old Joan Rivers," because like half the special was censored because it's Bravo, and like,
right. I
well,
remember
like
when.
my
Go ahead.
no, go ahead, you're good.
I just remember Bravo was one that I remember when Queer Eye came out on Bravo, like the original, and it was
Yes,
such like a big controversy. And I remember like preachers preaching against it in my church, like preach like specifically about that show. Like there was all those things. That's the stuff the church I grew up in kind of would preach against. Like they preached against guys wearing square-toed shoes and with buckles, which was a big thing in the 2000s. Um, of course, like regular mainstream media, but then there was also like Veggie Tales. If you know what Veggie Tales is, like that was a
yes.
controversy, like that level.
What?
I'm telling you, I literally have said before, like I feel like when my life story comes out, like it's gonna be like how to escape a cult in 34 years.
See, that's the thing. Like, this is my thing. At least from what I was taught, VeggieTales is like the conservative, or was like the Christian like show that they used to show all the time. Like,
It was a whole thing. They would preach it. I mean, it was just the essence of having a TV. of having people wouldn't buy TVs, they would buy like computer monitors and said that was okay. But like actually buying a TV was wrong. But you could buy a computer monitor and have a monitor and watch VHSs on it or whatever, and that was acceptable. Video, tell you.
So you were almost Amish, which I mean, I'm assuming meant if there's no TV, there's definitely no internet, right?
Oh, we got the internet. I remember the internet. Um, but it wasn't until like preachers kind of got on the know of like what it was that they were like evil. They preached against social media. So like they preached against like having a Facebook page. MySpace was completely off limits. So there was this other version. So there is this, and no one I think knows about that. I think I just lived in an alternate reality of this social media platform called Bebo. And it was like it was a whole thing. We didn't have MySpace, we had Bebo, and preachers preached against having social media, and they still preach against Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. It's like they preach against the news. They would preach against like getting the news from MSNBC, CNN. It was all those things. It was controlled.
See, that's wow. Because I'm
You're just
thinking,
like,
well, no, because this was the thing. It's like I'm hearing about all these other religions because I was thinking, I'm like, I had somebody on here who's talking about like being Jehovah's Witness. I'm like, that's the worst. And then I feel like what you say is almost just as bad as Jehovah's Witnesses. Like,
I think I actually connect a lot with, um, I connect because religion in general, there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of similar flavors. Um, I found that my experience when I talk to other gay men, men who have left the Mormon Church or Jehovah's Witnesses, like we kind of like understand each other. We have a different level of understanding for each other because of
yeah,
the nuances there. Um, you have to understand the minds, and I actually went to Bible school too. Like that's a whole other thing too. But like the mindset there is if you do this, 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 and this, and don't do these things, then you're good to go. And I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. Like when I came out, the big thing for me was realizing I did all those things, but something was still not right. Like something in me was not right. And that's when I kind
yeah,
of like started deconstructing and kind of like put it together.
yeah. You're good. That was my next question. So it's like, was what it was like for you coming out. That's literally my next question. So like,
Oh, okay. Um,
I'm
so pro- it, I graduated from college, graduated from Bible school. I started a Christian school for 13 years, like a private, independent Christian school. Um, I loved I love inspiring others. I love empowering others. It's kind of like what teaching did for me,
yeah,
and creativity. I had quit my job teaching in May of 2021. Um, yes, 2021. And I was just burnt out. Like I was just burnt out. And it wasn't, I knew deep down I was gay, but like that was not the reason or the catalyst for like me quitting my job. It was just I was burnt out. I was burnt out as a whole. And so I did that in May, didn't really have a plan. And my grandmother, we had a very special relationship. I know everyone says they have a special relationship with their grandmother, or a lot of people do. We were inseparable. And like there was multiple times I thought could tell her, but I never did. And so in May, I quit my job. At the end of June, she got COVID. And by July 14th, she had passed away. Like it was pretty fast.
yeah,
And my world was wrecked. Um, because she was the only person that like I truly felt I could just be honest and I didn't care. There was no like, hey grandma, I'm gay. I just was myself. And she was gone. And I was depressed and I was going through a lot of grief. And so in August 10th, um, I came out to my first friend and was like, I'm not well. This is what I think is going on. And this was at the time of a client of mine, because I had done baby and newborn photography actually, which is a whole other thing too. Um, and she said she knew, and I was like, okay. And I didn't know what to do with that. And I think sometimes that's okay. Like I just kind of had to acknowledge it myself. And then, so that was August 10th. I'm scrolling through TikTok. I find this guy. His name is Eric Feltus, and he was a life coach, and he helped help gay men free themselves from church shame. And I'm like, oh, that's me. Um, and so I actually started working with him. That was like a big part of. And so I started working with this life coach, and he kind of just helped me work through a lot of those beliefs that I had taken on, especially like, what does the Bible say, and what interpretation have I been reading, and those things. And so I started working with him in August. And I started just like coming out to like photographers, actually. Like the photography community is like the people I actually started coming out to the most. Um, I didn't really tell anyone in my family except my aunt. And her words were, um, I love you. I don't understand. And of course, there was a conservative way to, but like the overall vibe, what like the message and what we've lived out is that she's there for me and she loves me and I'm okay with it.
Right.
And it's like, look, I get it. Um, I had a lot of time to process like my belief system and what that meant for me and my sexuality. Sometimes when you thrust in news on people, like they need to process that too. And so it was just meant a lot that she loves me. Um, So that was August. I hope I'm not like, the dates matter because in November I went to
Yeah.
Play Louisville, which is the drag bar here in Louisville
Yes.
for the first time. And I just like knew this is where I need to be. Like this is home. Like this felt right. Um, I was terrified to death that I was going to like get lost, die there. My parents are gonna like I'm gonna die at a gay bar, and my parents are gonna find out that way. Like that was my literal thought. Um, I told a friend, I texted a friend like, "This is where I am. If I go missing, I park my car blocks away so they wouldn't know."
Yeah.
And so that was November of 2021, and I photographed my first drag queen in February that following year of 2022, and I created the name Joshua Jay Steele, or Jay Steele is what I used to go. It's kind of like the what I really go by, as a way to create in a kind of anonymously, kind of like created that like an alias for me to put stuff out there on the internet, just so it wasn't searchable.
Yeah.
I did pretty good until June of 23 or 22, and a cousin of mine told my parents that they saw something on TikTok that I had posted, and I'm like, "Why are you Christian, like you Pentecostals are preaching against TikTok, for God's sake? Why are you on there? And then why are you sharing my news?" So in June of 22, my I was confronted by my parents. Um, I was also confronted by my sister at that time, and it wasn't until last year in 23. They knew I was gay, but we just never talked about it. Like it was just kind of
Right.
like I showed up, and it was just like, I'm not going to talk about you. You're not going to talk. We're fine. But oddly enough, I had done a podcast interview in 23, and it got released in January of 23. And some people from the church that I used to go to had found this podcast and found out the photography that I did. I found out everything, and they were actually at what was called a men's advance, and it was like 2 days of heterosexual church men saying, rah, 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 we are men. And we're going to be like, we're men, you know? And they were sharing this interview of me telling my story. And the theme of it was called The Fear of Coming Out, about like facing the fears of coming out. And this circulated within the church and they were sharing it. And that was into February. Long story short, that was kind of like the breaking point. And so at this point in my time, at this point, I still talk to my parents. I have one sister that I'll text occasionally, but my coming experience is kind of that like standard one of like came out and got cut off.
Yeah.
So that was like 30. So I'm gonna be 37 at the end of the month, and so there's like it's a lot to process at 30. It's a lot to process for anyone, but
Yeah.
there's just been a lot.
See, I would say in some ways my story is intense. It's not that intense, but it is intense. So it's like I will say in some ways, like I give it up to people who had to come out to two parents. I didn't because I came out 4 months after my mom died.
Mm,
So it's just having to come out to my dad, and then I have an older sister who was really accepting of me.
oh, that's good.
And I just found out she came out like 4 months ago. So it's like
I love
that
that.
now makes sense.
I
So
go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, no. I was getting into the person I shouldn't have come out to. This is where it goes to the bad. I came out to a youth minister at the church. I told him about this performance idea I had had with like a knife and how I'd practice stabbing myself because I'm dramatic, obviously.
We love drama.
And he left the room. He came back in about 10 minutes later. He said, "Okay, you have one of two options. Either you're coming with me or I'm calling the cops." Now, in hindsight, I would have let him call the cops. So I went with him to get a psych eval. They had told me I had passed it. But then all of a sudden, I was like on the phone with my dad in like this hospital. I'm like, yeah, just come back here and get me, dad. Like, I'm all good. And all of a sudden, I had a cop yell at me. He's like, get off the phone. I'm like, and then they just like put me in this hospital room and for 5 hours didn't tell me anything. And then they came in. It was like by that point, it was like 11 o'clock at night or like 10 o'clock at night. They're like, that's when they told me they had Baker acted me. They had put me on a suicide hold. And I was taken from the hospital to a psych ward where I had to spend 64 hours because I was brought in on a weekend and it took till Monday morning. I had one session with the weekday therapist. He literally said basically he told this part to my dad. I didn't hear this part. He basically said like, this is a well-adjusted young man. I don't know why anyone brought him here. And at this point, I was 18. I was still in high school. They're luck. This motherfucker was lucky that I happened to have that day off from school because I would have been pissed if I'd missed school because of you abusing shit. And of course, he wasn't done because he was trying to make it seem like it was all about me like killing myself. And then after that, he had a meeting with me and a priest who set me up with a therapist who, after about 4 sessions, tried to pray the gay away.
There, first of all, I'm so sorry that you experienced that. And all what I can connect with is that feeling of, yes, I was 34, 35, even now going through a lot of this. there is a lot. I am grateful often that I wasn't. I kind of avoided some of those things like conversion therapy. There was definitely moments where I was told to pray away.
Hmm.
Um, there is a movie I got to see that was produced locally about conversion therapy that has um, s- my friends were in it, and so I watched that and I said that is what my life would have been like if I would have came out a lot younger. I
Yeah.
will also say I can connect with. I did not come out to my grandmother.
Yeah.
She passed. I remember we were in the hospital. I remember covered with all, this is COVID. So, and I
Yeah.
remember wanting to say it, and I didn't. And people have asked me, like, oh, she knew, she knew. And for the longest time, I really didn't. I said, you know what? I'm kind of thankful that I never came out to her because I don't know what her response would have been. And those words don't linger with me.
Hmm.
Like, there's just
That's
kind of, there's like a kind of a comfort in not knowing.
yes. See, in some ways, well, this is the thing. For being how young I am,
How old are you again?
so I'm 29.
Oh,
So like, so like, for being 29, I have a lot of family that's dead. Like, I have again my mom, both sets of grandparents, my mom's whole family, or both my mom's parents were dead before I was born. And then my grandfather on my dad's side was dead before I was born. And my grandmother died when I was 12. So, like, that. And then, like, I had an uncle who died when I was on my dad's side when I was 6, 5, somewhere around there. So it's like, there's a lot of family that I didn't have to come out to. But again, this is having older parents. Like my dad's turning 74 this year. So like, yeah, that's why it's like with that. And as I said, in some ways, like the way I look at it as I put everything into my art, because it's like that whole coming out experience, the reason you came out, it was a good thing that you came out older, was I had to go through shit that somebody who's older didn't have to go through. Like
I
I
mean,
was I was suicidal a year after. And about 3 years after that, I got raped. And then about 2 years 2 to 3 years after that, I was suicidal second time. Then after that, I got sexually assaulted. So it's like all of this stuff that like I had to go through in my 20s. That's why, or my teens and my 20s. It's why I have an album to release. And that's what this album is. It's basically I put everything into this album. And then like at the end, there's a song I wrote called I'm Sorry to everyone in my life, to basically saying like I'm sorry I almost died. Like I know it's kind of intense, but it's like just I'm glad I made it here. That's
create
why.
creativity for me, my photography is kind of like the outlet for me to express
Yes.
myself. Um, Grief changes people, and it puts us, and it allows us to kind of evaluate things. And I am, it was a lot of ugly. I am grieving as a journey, and but there's a lot of growth from that. And so for me, there is pain, but we all have pain. And everyone, you don't get to choose your pain. You don't get to choose your what happens to you, but you can control. For me, at least, I've tried to remind myself, well, what can I control? And my reaction to those things. And so, trying to be kind to myself in those situations and trying to just be kind, and just kind of do the best I can and allow myself the grace to feel things.
Right. And it's good for the feeling. It's like The one thing that I will say, and I know it's shocking for the drag queen to be saying this, but it's like
No, they drop.
so many people put on like a facade, and it's like I'm not. I my thing is like, especially now, again going through all that stuff. It's like I can't fucking do it. Like if I don't like somebody, I'm gonna tell you I don't like you. Like if I can tell that you're not genuine, I might say hi to you. But if I know that you're fucking talking about me behind my back, I'm not gonna trust you with shit.
I think vulnerability. Well, shame doesn't like vulnerability, and I feel like in the short time I've been out and in the community, shame is was in the church, but it's also in our own community too. And being vulnerable and being honest and authentic is uncomfortable for a lot of people. And like you said, that being genuine and just being like, this is who I am. Some people can't
Yeah.
handle that. Some people cannot handle just someone being like, oh, this is who I am. Like, period. I'm a dork. I know I'm a dork. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with being a dork. I'm insecure a lot of times, but I'm okay with that. And this is just who I am. But I just don't have time for like I spent 34 years putting on that facade of putting on a suit every day to go to church, making everyone think everything was right. I'm like, I don't have time to do that now.
No. Because the thing, yeah, because you pointed out, it's like I will say, like, even though I came out at 18, but it's like it wasn't until I found drag at 21 that I like honestly felt in some ways I'll say when I put everything on for the first time. So like even the sunglasses, I don't wear these. These are my interview glasses. I got them in a brand deal.
They're
Love
fabulous.
brand love brand deals, thank you. So the sunglasses I wear when I go on stage, they're actually a pair of my mom's. So like it's a chance like she, as I said, she was the biggest musical influence in my life, and it's like now I get to bring that kind of like fire in her. Because I will say this, like the hardest thing I will say the hardest thing about losing my mom is, so my mom, it wasn't like one of those sudden things like COVID. I feel like as bad as it is, it's a nice like in some ways it's like a short little way to lose somebody. Like versus my mom had two different kinds of cancers. So my mom
It
got
was easy.
diagnosed got diagnosed with cancer when I was 15 years old, and she died when I was 18. So it's like
It,
I had to
it's
see her like get reduced down to nothing, and like
That's a different
that was
level.
hard. Yeah,
100%. Like it can be a both and situation. Like my grief and your grief are so
yeah,
valid, and your pain
yeah.
and my pain, like it's
No,
not one of those like my pain is worse than yours.
that okay. Sorry, that's not what I was.
No, no, no.
What
I knew you weren't. I knew you
Oh,
weren't.
okay, okay, okay.
No,
I
I
was
was
like,
just trying to connect. Like
yeah,
everyone has like those things are who we are. They form us. They've you experienced that, and so you're this person, and vice versa. Like I didn't. Fine.
and it's like, and in some ways, like I will say, here's the one thing that I'm grateful to COVID for. Everyone's like, actually, I'll say two things. One of them is like the year after COVID is when this podcast started. So it's like gave me a chance to get something. But it's also that time of I started wearing bodysuits. I started dressing half naked in a drag because I was like, I had this vision of like me wanting to do all this stuff, but my first thought was, well, you're not thin. You have to be a twig in order to do all that. And it was me basically saying, like, fuck it. Like, my view is, and it's this way to this day, it's like, yes, I understand people are gonna judge my body, but if you don't like my way my body looks, you don't gotta fucking look at me. Like, it's
I have a
it's
I had a I have a British friend, or you Scottish. He'd kill me if I said British. Um, I have a Scottish friend, and because I deal with some self confidence issues, and I think a lot of people do. And he told me this, and I kind of stuck with me. And he goes, "You don't have to fuck yourself." And he goes, "You don't have to think you're attractive. Someone will. Like you just be you." And like you said, like if you don't like what you see, you can go away.
Yeah, it's like those. My view is all the all the. This is a beautiful way to look at it. All the toxic gays who are like, that would never be the person I'd fuck anyway. It's like, well, good. I ain't going towards you. The black guys want me anyway because I got a fat ass. Black and
It's
Latino guys.
like you
Yeah.
think I want you. Like, okay. Ugh.
And and it's yeah, it's like, granted, would it be nice to be like with the traditional stud? This, at least my view. As I said, when people say like, oh, they just want white people, I'm like, boring. It is 2024. Interracial dating is the way of the future. Shit, I'd rather be with a black guy anyway. Like, turns out, at least from my limited experience with white guys, black guys are better at sex anyway. And like, my friends with benefits who like, we're gonna get into dating as well. That's like a,
Well, we are okay.
yeah, a whole, that's a whole issue. But it's like, he makes me feel like the hottest person ever. And I'm
I know
like,
you what.
yeah, and I'm like, that's why I'm like, it's like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so okay. Well, you said, hold on. Okay, I had to look. I'm skipping to the questions because you already answered them.
But you're fine. I
So
figured. Good.
yeah. So what made you want to become a photographer?
I got my first camera when I was 8, and a lot of times it was just taking pictures of family. I was always inspired by old Hollywood. Um, so that's always been a thing. Um, Professionally, it started. I found out I was going to be an uncle, and so I went to I in high school. I did a lot of Photoshop, and I started like actually restoring old pictures, like taking black and white pictures or damaged pictures and restoring them and making them color. Like that was kind of where my background was in high school. I went to college, Bible school. I did yearbook. And I learned like layout and did more Photoshop things. And then I kind of always wanted to be a photographer. Um, at that point, I didn't really take it seriously until I found out I was going to be an uncle, and I wanted to take better pictures. And so what kind of developed from there is I had this other local photographer. Her name is Melanie, and I would go to Melanie's studio in the summer when I was still teaching, and on the weekends and random times, and I would pay her $20 to spend an hour with me and show me how to use my camera, show me how to use lights. Um, because in my mind, I wanted to capture my nephew's life. I had found this connection. I found there's studies that if a child sees family pictures, they have a sense of belonging, and so I wanted to provide that for at that time my nephew, but later on my nieces and nephews. Um, and so I wanted to make sure that their life was documented. And then I, so that was like 13, like that was while I was teaching. That was while I was still in the closet. Um,
Yeah,
During that time, I learned I really enjoyed creating and doing sets and themes that connected like to my childhood. And so I started doing newborn photography of all things. And I actually did wigs on babies and like whole looks. If I was to brand it now, my newborn photography kind of got known. I got known as the newborn guy because I was one of the few newborn photographers who was. I know this is like, where are you going with this? The pictures now, I would brand myself or brand it as baby drag because it was literally that. Like full
yeah,
blown, I had white hair wigs for an Ursula. I had Cruella de Vil. I did all of these like baby drag things. Um, so that's what I did for 13 years. I came out and realized that the conservative Christian families that I had been servicing for so long probably aren't going to like me. And so, what do I really want to create? And I was working with Eric, the life coach, and he was like, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I'm like, "I want to photograph like pinup. Like, I want to make like old Hollywood guys and drag." And so that's where Jay Steele came from. I don't know if that answered the question, but like that was the shortest way I could get to it.
Right. I mean, like, I will say, like, in terms of, I'm gonna answer this in two ways, because it's like, I feel like drag I kind of found on accident, whereas like I knew I wanted to be a musician since like 15 years old. Like, I wrote my first song at 14. Like, I did all this stuff. I remember my mom, when I went to high school, tried to get me to do football. I fucking hated it because I
People
basically
want I'm
told her,
6'4". People wanted me to play basketball all the time. I'm 6'4". People wanted me to play
yeah,
basketball. I'm like, no, don't pick me. Like I would go like and have to like play basketball like for things, and I'm like, no, don't pick me. Like you don't want me. You don't want me.
yeah. Like, I was on the JV team. I pretty much like sat on the bench most of the time. It's like, and I was happy with that because it's like, my thing was, especially at that point, it was after I'd given my mom what she wanted. Is she's like, "You gonna go back next season?" I'm like, "No, I want to audition for the American Idol experience at Disney. This is what I want to do." Like,
Yes.
and I did, and I auditioned for a few times, and it's like, I've never made it very far in the auditions because, again, this is me getting older. I'm like, I realize I don't fit that mold, and the molds that I would fit, there isn't one. Like, if I were given the opportunity to pitch a show to a network, I'd be like, "Here's my show. It's a it's it's a show called the next great singer songwriter. Not a single show like that. It's myself and the three other judges I want happen to be queer men, and it's like, and they're all musicians. So it's like you have the contestants compete, and then every week you have one of the judges rotate out and perform a song.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
cool.
like that way. It's like, unlike those years of like when you see like J Lo on Idol and everyone's like, "What's J Lo doing on Idol? She can't even sing." It's like, well, if you get all four judges to prove that they actually have the talent to judge the show,
I
I
mean,
feel like you'll question it less.
I there's definitely an opportunity there. I definitely
Yeah,
think there's a thing. I love ideas. Like for me, I would turn it into there's each challenge because you want someone, if they're going to be the next great songwriter, whatever. Like
yeah,
you don't want to get limited to genres, but like you could have them.
mm,
Everyone's each week is a theme, and that judge has to perform that song, because what's going to happen
ooh,
is then they can assess, okay, this is actually how you wrote it, but this is how it translates, and like what happens when it's produced and what the connections. So I like it. That's cool.
yeah. I didn't even think about that because I didn't think that far, but it's like
Oh, I can run with an idea.
somebody said like this needs to happen. I'm like, great. You know anyone who's got any money? Because I don't got any money. Like, as
Say
I said, as I said, I'm a drag queen. I explained this to somebody. Drag queen is having like this amount of money and this big of ideas. Like, that's
I get it. When I was a newborn photographer, that was the thing. I really photography. My newborn photography was drag. Like my images, out they were drag.
yeah. And also, what was I saying? It's like when you look at, I hate saying it's drag music because literally my music is not drag music. Like, I love what Manila Luzon does. I love what Alaska does. I'm more an Adore Delano. Like, that's just me in general. Like, that kind of like punk edge thing. Because it's like,
Adore's wonderful. I love
yeah,
Adore.
I know. It's great. This is the one thing. That is the one person I want to meet again. Because I met her one time. I did VIP. She performed at the one of the gay clubs I used to go, or the gay club I used to go to all the time. Is the one I performed at in Orlando, and it's like I did VIP. I was meeting her, and I like as we took the photo, I like froze and couldn't say anything because in my mind I want to be like, tell her about how much she inspires you, but nothing would come out.
She is absolutely wonderful. I got to meet her a couple months ago, and she's so wonderful, so genuine. Saying, I would anytime, Adore, you come to Louisville, please do.
I do. I'd love. And see, like this is what was it? Somebody asked like, so what drag race queens have you interviewed? I'm thinking none of them. You know how hard it is to get a hold of those people? It's like I
Right.
shoot for the I love shooting for the stars. I will never stop shooting for the stars, but it's like I have to get down to like somewhat famous. Like they've been on a reality show before. Not like Drag Race, but like one of the shows on
Well,
Out TV. On Out TV, or like they did porn. Like that's about what I could do. But believe me, I want to shoot for those stars. Like
you'll get them.
and and I will get them. It's like in time. It's like, and the thing is, I don't want to tell people how to interview. I've given away too many secrets already. It's like when people say, "How do you do it?" It's like my like interviewing inspiration. I know. Well, I have two. Both of them are controversial, and it's Howard Stern
Okay.
and Wendy Williams. Both controversial figures in their own right,
But we love them.
but of course, because it's like that was the thing where it's like I want to admit it. This isn't hard. Like if you have the right personality for this isn't hard. But if you're, I always say I'm better one on one. So it's like because I feel at least this is my opinion. In a crowd, you can't really be yourself. I mean, you can, but you can't. It's like you don't get like any sort of any like in depth conversations when you're in a crowd with people. All
Action.
it's all like surface level bullshit, which I also don't kind of like. See, what was it? Somebody said that people in LA literally one of the questions they ask when you first like meet there is like, "What do you do?" Like, part of me wants to be like, give them a smart ass answer. Give them a smart ass answer so they'll never like ask you that question again.
Mhm.
Because it's like literally say like the most shocking thing, and my first thought is like terrorist. Just tell them you're a terrorist, because then they won't ask you any questions after that. Like, what do you do? I'm a terrorist. Everyone walks away.
Clear room.
Bro. So okay. So I guess I'll ask you, out of the like baby photography,
Mhm.
out of newborn photography, what was it like for you on like your first shoot that wasn't like that?
So, um, I had decided I wanted to do male boudoir, whatever. And I had put on my Grinder profile, that's what I did. And I get a message from someone saying, I need to hire you for your services. And I'm like, what services? Fast forward, it was this guy, he needed pictures for his partner for a profile, and they wanted me to show up at a hotel room. Now, at this point in my life, okay, so I came out in August to my first friend. I had never been out. I never had sex. This was September, and I'm like, okay. I show up to a hotel room with my gear, and I go in. It's nice, and we just got to it. And so I photographed this guy. He got in the shower, photographed all of that. I had never even been I had been in a room with a naked man before, but like first time in this situation.
Right.
Um, I was so nervous. Like I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And I show up, I photograph him there. I did the series because it was really important for me to have. Like, I love telling a story, and even in that first session, I was do like I wanted to tell a story, and so it was. He took a shower. I had him do pictures of him getting dressed, undressed. I had pictures of him like shaving, like combing his hair. It was very like a story. And then he wanted some pictures of him hard, and so I'm like, okay. So he gets hard, beautiful pictures. These pictures are like they're good. And so he's hard. Photograph that, gorgeous. And he was like, now what do I do? So his partner at the time was like, well, I know. And so then they just start getting in bed together and start fucking. And I just continued to take pictures of that. And I wonderful people. They are friends still. I consider them friends. I talk to them at different times, and still some of my best work to this day. And I walked away and like, I that's what I'm supposed to do. And part of that experience with them is like I literally didn't know anyone, and they like took me to get pizza and was like, okay, this is what you need to get tested. This you need to find, get on prep and blah blah blah. Like this is what you need to know. And I'm like, okay. And so that was the first experience, like doing something not like what you see now.
Yes. See, I know that because, like, I know that kind of having to teach people because my best friend, who's been out since he was 18, now at the ripe old age of 30, now decided he wants to start hooking up with people. And it's like, now I have to be like, okay, bitch, this is that.
And it's so important. You need that. You need to have someone that will do those things for you.
It's like, thank God I was like a YouTube like binge addict of stuff because it's like, for example, when I had guys doing Tina in my apartment for the first time, I knew what the fuck it was.
Mhm.
When guys try to offer me poppers, I learned what those were.
You knew it. Yeah. Education is empowering. And so I do not only with my sexual health, but also in terms of rights, gay culture, gay experiences. It was really important to me to like read about, and so I read a lot of books, consume a lot of information to try to like understand because I know I feel like I'm late to the party, and I need to understand. I feel like I want to understand where I came from and who has came before me and made things available for me because of this. And so yeah, like, and I still tell you, I'm very thankful for that interaction that I had.
Yeah. And it's like, first of all, you came late to the party. It would have been great to be out in your 20s. You didn't miss much. Like,
You know
as
what? I said that, but also like it is what it is. Like this is I accept like the time. There's something I have like a little sign in my apartment that says "Trust the timing of your life," and I try to live by that. Like that concept of like it's supposed to happen. Like a song my mom used to sing to me when I was a kid was que sera, sera, what will be, and it's like it's
Yeah.
just gonna be. Like it's just gonna be what it is.
Yeah. It's like with that and I flip on the other side where it's like, am I grateful that I had the experiences? Yes. Are there some things I wish didn't happen? Of course, but it's like they already happened. So it's not like I can change them. It just becomes at this point, now that I have a podcast, it just becomes good anecdotes to tell people. Like I remember the first time I got my ass eaten. It was like, as I said, this is the story. So okay, so I went to go pick up this guy. I drove a half an hour to get him, and like as we were getting closer to my apartment, that's when he seemed to confide in me. He's like that he had been smoking crack before I went to pick him up, and it's like,
Fun.
well, it's like, well, I've already picked you up, so yeah, of course we're gonna have sex. Kids out there at home, do not listen to what I'm saying. Like, do not. But it was like he asked me if he wanted to do it, and like all of a sudden I let him do it. It felt weird, obviously, for like it's a weird feeling, and all of a sudden I'm like, and then I went into the like ecstasy feeling of like, yes, fucking love this. And then like I went to this. I was in an open relationship. I went to my boyfriend at the time. I'm like, okay, it's like you want to be the top bitch. You're doing this from now on. It's like you made the rules. I'm simply changing them.
Come on, change it up.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people like to this day. Actually, I skipped it for a little bit, but to this day, I'm the person where like so many guys are like, I'm as I said, I'm very bold and direct. So I'm like, I'm the person who will sit there and tell a guy, I'm like, if you're not eating my ass before you fuck me, you're not fucking me. It's just
standards.
It's like point blank period. And it's like guys are like, I don't want to do it, but I'm so turned on by your ass. I'm like, well, then get you a friend who can.
It's called boundaries and expectations. You set the standard of what you expect.
As I pointed out, I'm like, yeah, life's too short. Like life's too short. If you got to learn what you want, you got to learn how to like go and get it. I mean, like as you said, everything happened in time, but it's like in some ways you also wasted 34 years in the closet. Like
yeah, exactly. It's there's very much it's a both and. Like, yeah, I came out at 34, so also I missed out on a lot of stuff, but also I can't control it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hold back. Like, I'm 36. God, I lost like 2 years just instantly. I'm 36. I'm like, I don't want to waste more time. Like, so I enjoy it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I didn't write down this question, but I have this one. Okay, so especially your first time shooting, and with you like be coming out so late, or even not even your first time, is there at any point where like I'm dancing around this question, but I'm gonna like that where you get like sexually excited, or like maybe towards the beginning was that more of like a thing?
Are you asking if I get hard during a session?
There you go. Why am I?
You can just ask.
Why am I dancing around this issue? Yeah, do you fucking get hard?
You can use our words. So we're recorded. Okay.
I love how I should talk about ass eating 2 minutes ago, and all of a sudden I can't ask if you get hard on phone.
So honestly, I get asked this a lot. I will say this. and maybe this is I don't think it's a cop out because this is honestly where my head is a lot. No, I am so as an like me in a session. I am so in the zone, and
Right.
people will say this about me. They're like, "I see you working, and this is what you're doing." And it's like I'm figuring it out in my head. So like when I have a subject, I am like trying to make sure I capture what I need to capture first. So like it's kind of not to like my dopamine is creating. So I get excited to create and play with lighting and play with um angles. And so like I can be turned on, but like I mean, who doesn't get turned on lately? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not. The other thing is, and this is like a question to you, but like people ask me that. I'm like, do you ask a banker if they get hard when someone hot walks in and they have to give them their deposit? Does someone at McDonald's, do you ask someone if they get, like, this isn't a like, this is something I get questioned a lot about. I'm like, people get hard. People get aroused. It's not like a curse word. It's not like a dirty thing. Like, it happens.
Yeah, and it's like not all the models you work with, of course, but there's some models who like their thing is like name of the game. All this just give an example of somebody I know that I've interviewed on here. As I said, Evan West. It's like the way of like the most like mind blowing thing interviewing him was like figuring out the difference between like a trapper and a go-go because it's like
Oh
so I
man,
heard all this and then all of a sudden I had this conversation with somebody, but I'm like, yes, there's a difference between a trapper and a go-go, but you're gonna treat the trapper and the go-go the same way
you don't.
when you're at a bar, but you're not gonna know which one is which until you've already done something.
I don't think I know the difference between a trapper.
Okay. Okay. I know you're new to the scene. I just learned what this was not that long ago. Okay.
Okay.
So essentially what a trapper is it someone I'll use Evan as an example. Evan is someone who's like gets booked at a go-go bar, but he is also having conversations with people about what to do after in terms of like escorting to make more money.
Okay. Mhm.
So it's like, and then whereas like a go-go is just traditionally the guy who just
For
dances
this
on the
dance.
box. Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with both. Yeah, I've worked with escorts multiple times.
Yeah.
Well, escorts.
And yes, and it's like, but my thing is the way people treat them in a bar, it's like you don't know which one you're getting because the trapper's not going to mind you touching their hole. The traditional go-go boy is.
I I guess I mean for me, because like there was a
Yeah.
joke because for a long time the go-go boys I've interacted with, I've actually met personally. And so like it wasn't until I went to LA that I had never tipped a go-go boy who I hadn't known already. And like for me, tipping a go-go boy, like I literally like hand them my money and like they tell me where I put it. Like that's just my approach to things. Like, and it doesn't. So like, but as for a photographer, I think there is like intention really matters to me, and I think this goes like in a long way. Like the intention for me when I work with someone is to create something artful,
Right.
tasteful, not tasteful either, because like I I can photograph some really smutty things, and I'm very proud of that. But there's always an intention. Like, what am I trying to create? I want that to come through, and I find there is. We all know what Dahmer is, Like it's not. It is. I want to create. I like to. I get. I enjoy creating, and so there's a guy I'm working with currently, and it's just like that concept of like you said, a trapper versus a go-go boy. Like
Yeah.
every photographer is going to be different, and I think it's important to like communication is very important. Like what is the intention here, you know? And I can be personable. I can be a personal photographer, and I can create, and also there be a connection with someone, and it be more than something artistic, and that's totally, it's consensual and it's fun and it's enjoyable. But I think it's important to like have those conversations. I think it's just to like read the vibe, like you said, like understand where they're like you said, are they a trapper or a go boy? You know, I think what's the intention. So I don't did I an- but the question was, do I get hard during a session? I would be
Yes.
lying if I said I haven't been hard before, but do I know what? Like honestly, I'm usually just like, I need to get the picture.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question? That was like
Yes.
very. I get asked that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like, granted, my thing is, and like how I've had to view this podcast. 'Cause the thing is, like, at some point, I've interviewed some people who are like obviously like newer people in my life, but I've also now at this point, I'm starting to interview some of the people I've like fantasized about before. So it's like now, in terms of like, especially when I become friends with somebody, at least for me, in terms of like when I'm actually like watching porn, the secret is I like kind of just like focus in on the scene and almost forget that I know one of the people in the scene, or maybe even sometimes both of the people in the scene, and like
It.
I
I.
just sit there and get my rocks off.
I get that. I think I've worked with individuals, and it's very interesting. I don't really understand it. And I really don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. I don't even
Yeah.
know if there's a question there. But like, I will say that the people I interact with through my work means so much to me. Like every guy, every person I interact with, like they are a life and they matter. And that is like one of my missions to like spread that. Like you matter. Period. End of sentence. You are a person. I want you to feel seen through my pictures. And there was a someone I got to work with really recently, and he made the comment. He goes, I just feel seen when we were together. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. As a photographer, I want you to feel seen. And so then my work is seen and you feel like I have captured you as a person. And so, obviously as a gay man, like I've consumed porn before, or I do, and I enjoy certain things. There is my relationship with porn has changed over time. Like I
Yeah.
also, I I see people as people, and so, like, there's that I want to make sure, um I don't know, like, I go also into a photo session as a gay man, like, I wanna photograph you, like, and I want to create desire in these pictures, and so, like, one of my personal goals in life is I want to move to video work and create things and be more cinematic and create, erotica that's visual and, like, put that desire there, It's my so, um I really don't think there was a question, but I think that was just more like
Mm,
my take on that, like, comment that you're like, like
no, there wasn't really a question there, but it's like,
but that was my part. That was why.
yeah, yeah, it's
It's conversation.
yeah, it's conversation, but yeah. So it's like, because again, my thing is like, obviously, yes, if I viewed my friend's work, of course. My thing is like, once I become friends with somebody, at least in my view, what I do now is like, they're just no longer my first choice. So it's like,
I
I
just
know,
honestly we it's just different. Like, that there's no other way to say it, but it's just different, and I'm okay with
yeah,
that. It's a different dynamic, and you can find someone attractive, and you can and they from my experience, they love it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you're still a person. You do know, like, I want you to know that I see you as a real person, and that's important to me.
so in other words, well, I mean, so you're trying not to like, you're
I
trying
don't
to objectify them, but like, well,
I
I'm
honestly try, like, I don't know. Like it's hard to like. There's not really a right or a wrong answer to this. I think it's just more like, dude, you're hot. Period. I don't like to. I just try to be very like, you know, you're hot. It is what
Yeah,
it is.
and
Like, don't. We're not. I don't want to add shame to sex. I don't want to add shame to porn. I don't want to add like. It doesn't have to be awkward.
it's also the thing of it's like, yes, we're friends, but it's like the great thing about that is at least if I'm in the bar with you and I see, look, I don't know, this is not all people, this is me. If I were to see somebody crossing the line with one of my friends,
Mhm.
in terms of anything, you try and steal a tip, you try and inappropriately touch them while they're go-go dancing,
Yep.
trust, I will cuss you out. Like,
Exactly. You want.
because
I want to create a safe space for people. I want to. I want my friends to feel safe, and I want them to feel safe with me, and I want them to. I want my work to for them to feel just like their best version of themselves. You
yeah,
know. So I don't know. It's we're. I have said this before. As a gay man, I get to I get to change, and I get to decide my relationships, and they get to be different. They don't have to be defined by something specific. So I don't stress over it.
yeah. So, oh, okay, here you go. So, who have been some of your favorite models to shoot?
My first model was Jordan Starr. Love him. He's such a sweetheart. Oh God, working with Prince Joshua was really, really a goal of mine. He was one I had seen. He's just hot. Like I thought he was like such a celebrity, and then we got to work. It was really funny. We had chatted for a while and just kind of like been real people with each other online, and then we got to plan something, and it was really fun to like work with him. Um, Benvi is one of my favorites to work with. Like I always get excited to work with him because we always create good stuff. Like we always just create really fun. Um, I really enjoy recently. I got to work with Dalton Riley, and his the pictures we created are. And I haven't released them yet, but the stuff we created with them was really fun and it's super stylized. I love working with a guy who comes in with like a concept and like there's a local guy. His name is Michael J. Valentine, and um, he's a male entertainer, and so we always get good concepts together. God, and I'm now naming names. I was like, I can't. It's like picking a favorite kid. Like all of them are good,
Yeah,
but like the people that I get excited with, like when I find that they're coming back, Dalton, I can't wait to work with him. Prince, there was a weekend. It was Prince Joshua, Evan West. His name is Rano, and then Ben V. Those four guys came in. Those four anytime. I love them so much. We had such a great time. We stayed out. We went and got burgered 3 a.m. It was I felt like dad, and I'm okay with that. Like I am an old I am quite comfortable being dad, even daddy. Like I get called daddy and I
right.
like but like I'm okay with being like the driver and like okay,
Yeah,
everyone make sure we're safe, like that's fine. I'm okay. I'm the momager of a group. Like I'm good with that. Um but yeah, Jordan, I love working with Jordan because we make stuff happen. Like we get hot, it gets hot, and it's just like super like easy and just really fun. So those were the yeah, I would say them, and then drag queens Naomi Wayne is like my muse. We have such a beautiful relationship. She is probably my good Judy. I can say that like she'd be my
yes,
person. We live in this, we share this grace brain cell, we said, and it's just like we live in a vintage Hollywood world and we just connect. Um, my girls from Play, which is going to be Melody Valentine, Lexi Love, Leah Halston, and Cassandra Hilton. My Play family, they are my people, and so I love creating with them. Yeah, I just gave a bunch of shout outs and I don't care.
yeah. That's literally what I do in in everything. It's like if especially like with me, I'll shout out musicians on here all the time. Like especially if I'm talking music with somebody, I'm gonna be like, "This is somebody I like. This is somebody I like. This is somebody I like," and it's like I do it all. With you being in Louisville, the thing that I have to ask is there any sort of challenge with getting people to come to you?
It's really interesting. And I'm going to say this, and I don't even know really where my life is going right now. I'm considering moving, but maybe not. So I have a very good connection with Play Louisville. I'll leave it at that. And they have drag race girls. I'm also really good connected with Hard Candy, which is drag race and Dragula individuals. And so they all like to come to town, and I'm always like, "Hey, if you're in town, I'd love to shoot you." And I've had some great opportunities that way. So like there, and then Big Bar is like the local gay bar, and they have a lot of the Go-Go Boys, and so they come to town, and so I get to meet and photograph them. In fact, I'm photographing two or three this weekend, and so they come. So like, it's kind of like I showed up, and I just kind of they come to me. So like, there are some others that I would love to work with. I'm going to be in Chicago in March because I really want to work with some content creators there. I'm looking at Atlanta, but I would say the being in Louisville, the people that, and it's also like the people that I need to work with come to me. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
I
Yes.
mean, I do so that's actually kind of a good thing. The one reason I want out of Florida is because like, yes, Florida is great for some things, but I'm like at some point my goal would be if I could do this, which by the way, anyone who wants to sponsor this podcast who thinks I'm not brand unsafe, I'm looking at you, Grinder and Sniffies. Like, I'd love to do this. Like, granted, web interviews are great. It's a great way for people to like feel comfortable. There's just something about like getting the opportunity to like interview with people in person to me that seems like amazing. But I know obviously you can't
Oh,
do it for everybody. But I also feel like Detroit's very like centrally located. Whereas like Florida, I literally feel like Florida is far away from everything. Like, because literally, it's I think excluding Hawaii, it's the most southernmost point in
I
the
would think
United States.
I would think so over Texas.
Yeah, it's like so. With that, it's like also
Sorry.
the thing of like getting to travel is the other thing. Like, I'd love to travel more. The problem is, costs a lot of money to get out of Florida because Florida's so far away from every other state.
Exactly. I'm Louisville is home for now, is what I say. And I'm okay with
Yeah,
that. It'll be what it I don't know. It'll be what it's supposed to be.
yeah. So okay, so who would be your dream model to shoot?
mm. Are we talking drag or dudes?
You can give me either or both.
Okay. I really I'll give you two guys for sure. So one of them I've met and I haven't got to he came in, I didn't get to work with him, but like next time he comes in, we're gonna do it. Is Jean Paul. Love him, and I just cannot wait to work with him again. Work with him. And then there is this guy, his name is Call Me Mr. Kent. The other day, I think his name is actually Marby's. He's from Spain. He is a stylist and a model, and I just love the energy that he has, and I love the style. Um, I would also throw out one more because I know you know him. I cannot wait to work with Derek Thomas House.
Yes.
We have not been able to connect yet, and I think we actually have like a running series of like these are like ideas we have, and I cannot wait to work with them. So I would say those three. Those are the three like on my radar. Like I will have
Yeah.
success. Like I will feel like I have arrived. Drag queens. Ugh. I'm gonna. So I said three guys. I guess I should get it down to like three drag queens. I'm going to say first one, and this is going from like these are the people I would want to photograph and collaborate with.
Yeah.
I would love to photograph Alaska. Like
Yes.
Alaska gives me my fashion, but also campy, but also quirky and like angles. I love her. I would love to photograph. Uh, I have Sasha Colby because I mean she's my.
Okay.
I met her. She's absolutely wonderful. I want to photograph her. Oh God, one more. Ooh. Oh, one more. See, like it's.
No, 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 I'm kidding.
Oh well, I mean, of course,
No,
yes,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
of course. There's. It's funny. I could name another drag race girl. I would say Sasha and Alaska are like my like drag race.
Yeah.
Like, I will feel like I've done something, but I have. I love local drag, and that's really important.
Yeah.
And so, if I had to say, like honestly, it'd be another local artist because there's just something for a lot of experiences. I love working with a drag queen who has not had a professional photo shoot, and I'm like, hey, let me help you out because we're gonna show you some poses that you can take with you when you do your selfies and show your looks on your phone. Let me help you out. I love as a former educator, I love to
Yeah.
train, I love to teach, and so I love working with local talent. There are some individuals I follow. I'm thinking like Gina Tonic. I'm thinking of oh God, there's so many. There's so many. I shouldn't have said. There's so many, but like
Yeah.
so many entertainers that I want to photograph that they're not on Drag Race, and that's quite fine. But they're just Gloria Swanson.
Yeah.
Just another one. Like they're gorgeous and they're so talented and so creative, and I want to work with them. So there you go.
Yeah.
That.
Which I will say to that having a concept, I will say I have for my album, I actually have a concept idea. I'm not gonna say what it is on here because I don't want somebody else to steal it.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I did think, well, actually, just to give you a vibe and aesthetic, I've already said the name of this album, and I love it. I decided I'm gonna call it Confessions of a Transvestite.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like,
Is it gonna be sweet?
yes. And I was like, I can't. I love it, but I know I'm gonna get shit for that title, or I know I'm gonna get shit from some like extreme leftists who are gonna be like, "How dare you? You're denigrating the trans movement." First of all, if you look at what transvestite actually means in the Bible, not the Bible, I was gonna say the Bible, in the dictionary, it's more akin to a drag queen than a trans woman. Like, honestly, it is a female impersonator. That's literally, I'm pretty sure that's like almost a verbatim definition of it. So that's why, what was it? When speaking to Sweet Transvestite, when Laverne Cox did it in that like horrible, um, what was it? Hulu? I think it was a Hulu remake of Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror, yeah.
Is just that's where, and who was it? They originally offered that role to Adam Lambert, and he's like, I didn't want to take it. I'm like, you idiots! Like that's like a role of a lifetime. That's like,
They do a production of it here, and Dusty Ray Bottoms is our Frankenfurter, and she's so fabulous. She is so wonderful in it. Shout out to Drag Daddy Productions in Louisville. They do a wonderful production of it, and she's our Frankenfurter, and I love her. No, she's not. No, it's mayonnaise. She was going to do it. She does a version of it. Sorry, those two.
yeah, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure Well, actually, I don't know. I don't keep up with
Jesse
necessary bottoms.
Jesse was going to do it, and then there was this pause, and but she did it for another place. Like she did it for another production company, but May is one that I've seen do it here before, and she's wonderful. She's a really good friend of mine too. Anyways,
Yes.
that was that.
Work. So, what's your dating life been like?
um, I date. I am an active dater. It's not nothing substantial has came from it yet. I'm working through that. I started a new book called How to Not Die Alone. um, and I used to think I'm a hopeless romantic. Um, I'm also an overthinker. And I I just show up as myself.
Right.
And sometimes that's a little much. Sometimes it's dealing with like this mindset with me a lot of times is like, am I enough or am I too much? And it's kind of like, you know what, for some people I am too much. Some people cannot hand honesty and communication that is just genuine. Like I am that person who will like, hey, I'm thinking about you, hope you're having a good day. And that's just it. And some people like that, like they're
Oh,
clingy. I'm like, well, I'm just nice. Like maybe you have work to do. Um, I would say, but then some people it's like, I'm not this, this, and this, and that's okay. Like I don't have a six pack, and I'm okay with that. I try. I'm not, I'm in that space of like, someone should accept me for who I am,
exactly.
like accept me at this stage because I'm learning to accept myself at this stage. Um, my dating life, I've went on some dates and I'm like, oh my God. Like there was one I went on and I was like, the first time I went out with a date on a date with a guy, there was all those like, oh, this is my first date with a guy. It's gonna be wonderful and we're gonna be magic and it's gonna be like the best thing ever. And then I was like, this guy's crazy. Like this guy is, and I don't like to throw that word out because I have, anyways. It, I was like, am I really gay? Like, is this really what we want, Josh? Is this really what we want to go through? And then later on, I had a good date, and I was like, okay, yeah, we do like this. But I mean, I've always been single. Like, I haven't had a relationship, but it's been 2.5 years. I'm like, whatever. Um, I date. I've also tried to be very honest. Like, there's the difference between chemistry and compatibility. I'm like, oh, the chemistry is great, but could this really work out in the long haul? We'll see.
See, I get that. Like, so as I was saying to before to my friends with benefits, here's the thing. He's making it complicated. Because he's like, he knows he has feelings for me. I obviously have feelings for him. He wants to commit, but also he says at the same time, he's like, you're moving to Detroit. And he's like, I want to move to Orlando. And I'm like, first of all, in the back of my mind, I'm like, sis, you're going to be gone in Orlando in a year. There's literally nothing to do. That's why I would never move back there. It's like, for as like big of a city as it is, there are 3 gay bars in Orlando. That's it. And I'm like, you can only do that in the park so much to where like eventually you're gonna be like, yeah, I need to leave. And I'm like, so as I said, we're gonna figure that out, and we're having to figure it out. And this is the point I pointed to him. I'm like, you need to make a decision before I move because I say trust again, as I said, into black guys. It's like, and black guys are into me. It's like, if you don't make a decision, you're sending me into a lion's den. If you're not gonna make a decision, somebody else is.
Options.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Know your
plenty.
know your worth.
Yeah. So I know you haven't had many relationships. This is where I get to say I've had 3 tragedies.
We love a Greek tragedy.
2 lasted a month, and then 1 lasted a year. The one that lasted a year ended kind of like suddenly. We were living together when they broke up with me. So like I went to work one day, and then all of a sudden I come back home. I found a note with a key in the door. They had moved all of their shit out of my apartment while I was at work. And then they wrote me this whole note, like breaking down the relationship, saying like I was a little too selfish in the relationship, which I was 23 at the time. It was my first relationship. Of course I was selfish. That's what you are in your 20s. Like it's not like and if you're not selfish in your 20s, good for you. I was. Then like towards the end she said I'm transitioning. I'm like, and I know you won't accept me for the way that I am. Which you wasn't wrong about, because this was 2018. We didn't really know as much about the trans community then as we do now. Like now, it'd be like a conversation I'd kind of have, but at that point, I'm like, if you're transitioning, we're breaking up. So I let her go, and in the dumb young mind of a young person, instead of taking time, I got a relationship immediately after, which lasted a month. And that guy I moved in way too quickly. I literally moved him in almost from the beginning, and like it's just because he was too far away, and like I wasn't gonna go travel see him every weekend. He's like an hour and a half away. Like so anyway, he said the simple thing of he's like, I want to do poly things. I want to do stuff with you, with other guys together. And I'm like, fine. I understand the rules that you're saying. So I went to work one day and he got sucked off by 2 guys while I was at work.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, so this is the game we're going to play. So he went to work. And again, revenge is not the answer except for when it is. So I got fucked by somebody while he was at work.
Okay.
And then like as we were breaking up, in the middle of my predominantly black neighborhood with my front door open, he screamed the words, all you ever want is that N-word dick. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, can somebody shoot this motherfucker for me? Like, I will defend you. I'll be like, he got in the way of your bullet. He walked in. The bullet was meant for somebody else, and he stepped in the way. That's why he got shot.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
yeah. But karma's a bitch, because literally a month after he left me, he got HIV. So in my mind, I'm like, dodged a bullet there.
It that's yeah, I don't have that story.
No, dude, you don't want that story. Like, there's well, I'm not gonna say all white guys are racist, but it's like sometimes it's like I should have known, because this is like now looking back at it, I'm like, oh yeah, he was definitely white trash. Like, I definitely should have seen it coming way earlier than this, but I didn't. And that's why I've been single for so long. It's like everyone's like, a lot of people think being single is so sad. It's just like, I need a man. Everybody wants me. I'm thinking, girl, that's why nobody wants to fucking date you. Because you're desperate as fuck. That's why nobody.
I'm very I want a relationship. I'm confident in that. Like I want
Yeah.
to have those feelings and those warm all that, but I'm also like I don't have one today, so guess what? I still have to keep functioning as an adult and keep making shit happen in my life, and I will continue to do that because that is what I do. I've I have said before, like I'm like there's a balance of like I will want something and I'm driven to get it, but I'm also like it's gonna happen when it's gonna happen, and I just need to keep working. I have to keep moving. So I'm intentional. I'm intentional. Like I'm intentional with my interest. If I'm interested in someone, I'm very intentional with that, and it's like you're gonna know. Like it's
Yeah.
not like you're not. I'm not gonna keep you guessing, but I'm also like I have to daily. Like I have things to do. Like I always have pictures to edit. Like I'm a
And
big
yeah,
person. Like I can't. I'm not gonna sit home waiting if you're gonna call me.
yes, it's like, and also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this. You almost need someone who's like, even as like a photographer, you need somebody who's kind of like very open minded.
I s- it, I think I know what you're asking. So for me, I think it's important to in any relationship to have like communication on like this is who I am as a person
Yeah,
and what do you expect from me in a relationship and what because a relationship is going there's going to be talks and communication of like what are boundaries and what are expectations.
yeah,
And this is the quality, this is the life that I'm looking for. This is the life I want and the experience I want. And so I want someone who can fit or at least like accentuate that experience that I'm looking for. If someone came in and I've had guys like they aren't comfortable with the photography I do and I'm like, well that's your business and that's fine, but you're not going to shame me and I'm not going to take that on. Uh,
right.
and so I would say, like for me, when I'm looking at, I'm like, I'm really turned on by someone who's driven. Like, if someone like I'm a go-getter, and I like someone who's also like making stuff happen in their life. Um, I kind of look at it like and this is speaking from a place of like I don't know how this practically would work out. Like, it maybe, but like I want someone who I look at my life as a race and I am running my race and I am pushing myself and I am doing things for
Yeah,
myself. And at the same time, like I want someone who is also running their race, doing their own things, chasing their dreams. And I want someone who will run up alongside of me and keep going and running their race. But I do not want to drag you and I do not want to push you. I do not want to feel dragged. So if you're going one way and I'm going the other, that's fine. That we were running together for a certain amount of time and that's okay. But if we can go and we can run in tandem with each other and I can encourage you as you're chasing your dreams and vice versa, that's what I'm looking for. I want someone who can enhance my life and not be a cat like dead weight. And that's hard to
dead
find.
weight. Yeah,
Oh, I've thought
dead
about this.
dead weight and no jealousy. That's the biggest thing. Where it's like I have to tell a man, and it's why like I want to make it work with my friends with benefits is because like he's like wants to be a go-go boy and he's a rapper. It's like so my thing is we're both entertainers. You understand the fact of like if I'm making out with a backup dancer, that's not me cheating on you. That's part of the show. If I'm like simulated getting fucked by somebody, that's not me cheating on you. That's part of my art.
I
Like
think no, and I've been asked that before if I would date a performer like in the work.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, you know what? It's work. I just want to be in like as long as we have open communication, as long as there's honesty, that's what you can build something off of. What I can't build something off of is like just use your words. Just use your words. Hmm.
right. So, what's your relationship to drugs and alcohol?
I don't have one, to be honest. I don't drink. Um I will cook with wine. That is my relationship with alcohol. I like to cook with
Yeah,
wine. And drugs, I don't like weed. I'm like not like I've done it. I don't like to inhale it. I have taken some like gummies, like low dosage, like help me chill at night. But like
Right.
that's that's it. That's kind of where I'm at. But I'm around people. I will say this: my relationship with is my relationship, and my I know that that is not for everyone. I know other people do have relationships that's different than mine, and that's okay. Like that's them.
Right.
And I just want to make sure like boundaries, like my experience with people, like obviously I'm around a lot of I'm around a lot of bars, and I'm around a lot of people who do partake in things that I don't, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm like, I will drive you home. I will make sure you are safe. I will do whatever. I will buy you a shot if that's what you want. But my best relationships are the ones that don't require me to do that to engage. And it's like if my entry to be part of your life is for me to partake in something that is not true to me and my belief system, or not belief system, it's not really a belief system, it's like
Yeah.
values and what I want to do, you can go away because I don't need that. I spent 34 years of my life in a church saying this is what you have to do to belong. I'm not doing those things just to be along in a gay community.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, as I always say, I'm not completely sober, but I am the person now where it's like I may drink alcohol if I do, maybe once every like 4 months. Like, because, well, with alcohol, I had a night where, and this is part of being in your 20s and being an entertainer, and this part is hard. So it's just, I was getting handed drink after drink after drink after drink. People were just like buying me stuff. And I didn't feel like, I'm like, if somebody's like forking out the money, it's hard to say no to somebody who's like, um,
Sorry.
buying you stuff. So anyway, so then I got in my car and I had to drive an hour home. And about 45 minutes into the drive, I got pulled over by a cop.
Don't like
And
that.
I will say, like, luckily, I was fortunate. My dad picked me up. Otherwise, would have gotten a DUI. So it's like that kind of stopped me. But as I've pointed out before, I'm a musician. Alcohol dries out your vocal cords. Like, it's better for me to have like water and tea, which actually lubricate your vocal cords when I'm going to perform anyway.
Come on, lubrication.
Yeah. And plus, it's like the greatest part. So this happened at an event where I was out of drag, but I just shut up. It's great to see like drunk people act like assholes. So
That part, and that's also something that I like. That is something that I'm also very mindful of. Like, I know when to tap out because if someone's being an asshole, and I'm like, I don't need to see you like this because there's nothing
yeah,
more. It's like draining when you're like the only one that's not drinking. Like everyone's being a bunch of assholes, and I'm not going to tolerate this. I I will. I don't tolerate it.
see my asshole story is more of a funny one. So there was this drag queen who had shit talked my drag behind my back, and then like all of a sudden she was drunk off her ass, and like I wasn't at this event in drag, and she was literally hitting on me.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm thinking, oh, so you think my drag is shit, but you think I'm hot enough to fuck? Interesting. And part of me wanted to be like, bitch, you fucking know who I am. But I didn't. I let her look like an asshole in front of everybody because she was on the mic doing it too.
Oh
And
god.
I'm like, yes. So that's alcohol, drugs. The only thing I had a problem with, so I have bone spurs in the heels of both of my feet.
Mhm.
And like before I got on health insurance, which again, fuck you, America. Everybody should be getting health insurance without having to pay for it. Anyway, should come out of taxes. It's like I was taking for 4 months. I was taking to get through the pain. I was taking 18 to 24 ibuprofen a day.
Mhm. I'm allergic to ibuprofen. That's the other thing. So like, there's a lot of medication I'm allergic to, so I don't really experiment.
It's yeah, it's Believe me, it's not it's something I now like now that I've like been able to step back from it. It's something where it's like I really, 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 really got to be in pain, and that's when I take it because it's like now it's like I'll get through it. I'm good. So yeah, that was that. So, what are your thoughts on how the LGBT community is being treated today? Excuse me.
How is the LGBT? Well, I don't feel like we're treated right. I mean, I am in Kentucky. I think if I understand right, there was 9 new bills passed within the first 2 weeks of being in session. That is either anti-trans, anti-drag, anti-LGBTQ rights. There's a plethora of those. I also feel like as a whole, um, minorities, marginalized people aren't treated fair right to begin with, and so we are
Right.
um, you know, it's very easy. I'm a cisgendered white gay man. I still have privilege, and
Yes.
I'm aware of it, but not aware. Like I'm learning to be more aware of it. The question that was asked is, how do I feel like we are being treated? I feel like there is fear and control. I would say on a bigger level, you have politicians who are using the Bible, using religion, using fear to control those who are like the people down the street in like the
Hmm.
country. And those people are living in fear because they don't understand. Because people like to fear things they don't understand, and and there's a connection. Like when you learn things, like, oh, it doesn't have to be that scary, then you don't that fear goes away. It's kind of like as a kid when they're scared of the dark. Well, then you turn the light on, like, oh, there's nothing in the closet, and they sleep fine.
Yeah.
There is a lot of mystery, and because of the way society as a whole for all these years have treated, us in the community, and or those in the community, and now I'm in the community. Like it's, what I'm saying.
Yes.
There's those stigmas and those stereotypes are presented in a way and perpetuated through Hollywood and perpetuated through the media. And so for me, I feel like it's we are trying to do damage control, and we're trying to like always defend ourselves. And we're always trying to justify just being able to be in the room. And so there's that, I guess. It's kind of hard to like, I mean, obviously I don't feel like we're being treated right. I would say that a lot of the mistreatment, and then there's, like the violence, there's like that layer too. But I feel like fear controls a lot and motivates a lot of people. And so, on a political level, I think it's being um, weaponized.
Right. And here's the point that I always say. In terms of overall in the US, yes, there are pockets like in Kentucky and Florida where things are not great. But in terms of overall, it's sad to say this, but it's about as good as it's going to get.
I would, and there's also you have to be mindful of we are in some countries where it's not illegal to be gay. So like it's very I
Yeah.
try to be very mindful of that. It can be you can be unsatisfied with the way things are and wanting to hope for more, but you also have to I've tried to come up with a gratitude of like, but you know. So
Yeah.
that's my take on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we definitely need to help foreign countries, and I am the person who believes that if we're going to be sending foreign aid as America to other countries, it should be to fight something like that, not something to fight. And again, this is where I'm going to lose the conservatives. I don't fucking care. Uh, a holy war that's been fought for 2,000 years or over 2,000 years. that's never going to be one. It's like instead we should be trying to like uplift people. But again, as I think in the back of my mind, I also know that's easier said than done. And it's sad, but as you said, we have to be grateful for what we have, and just try and continue to move forwards to get the stuff that we don't have.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to my final question, what's the biggest misconception about you?
Oh God. Well, on a basic surface level, um, that I'm actually good at basketball.
Yes.
That was like the biggest. I'm like, I'm tall. I'm not good at basketball. I try to be so honest with people and try to be so vulnerable. Like I try
Right.
not to leave a lot of nuances, a lot like non misconceptions. I think that I think that some people think that because I'm quiet, I can be quiet, that I don't speak on things,
Right.
I don't have thoughts. Um, I also think that a lot of times, and we didn't really get into this, and this is okay,
Yeah.
but like my work is extremely provocative in a lot of senses, and it's very flashy. And I feel like sometimes people assume that my sex life is also that way, and I'm honestly like, or that I'm all this is the one I got it
Yeah.
because I'm out all the time and I meet so many people whatever that I am like always at clubs and I'm just like all into it. I love a good night at home on a couch.
Right.
Like I am going to be watching. I'm going in about 15-20 minutes. I will be watching Traders, and I'm so here for that. And I would love if there was a guy that would want to be there with me. That's what I love. I don't like crowds. I go to places that I'm like, I'm always out, but I don't feel like I'm always out on the town. I just am. And so I think one of the misconceptions is like I'm actually pretty basic. Like down, I feel like I'm pretty basic, and I'm very comfortable with that. Like it's just me. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
we'll see.
Well, yeah. I don't know. What do people think about me? I don't want to know.
Yeah. See, okay. Here's the point that I'm gonna make before I answer this question for myself. In terms of you being out and like going out to things, this is the way I look at in terms of me going out. You will not see me at an event if either I'm not there to perform slash get paid, or if I'm not there supporting somebody that I know. Those are the only two reasons I show up to events.
I get that. Like I don't. I have to be entertained. Like I will go to a drag show to support a local drag artist, but like I'm
Yeah.
not. I guess a circuit party isn't really gonna. Like I have no desire to go to the gay on a gay cruise. Like zero desire, unless they're gonna pay
Right.
me. Like that's the thing. Money will talk.
Because that was, what was it? Two of my friends with benefits. So for years, he had been asking me to go to Fort Lauderdale. And then all of a sudden, one weekend, I knew somebody who's down there performing at an event that, like, if somebody had interviewed, I went out there to support them. And he's like, I have been asking you to go to Fort Lauderdale all this time, and all of a sudden now you're gonna go without me. I'm like, listen, hey, I made these plans at the last minute because I am that bitch who sometimes will be like, I want to go down to Fort Lauderdale, so I'll book a hotel Thursday night to go down Friday night, or Thursday day to go down Friday night. Like, I sometimes like a plan, but sometimes I'll be like last minute. I just need to get out. And my thing is, once I'm done supporting the person, I want to be home. Like, if I am out like on a late night after I'm done performing and I'm out till 4 or 5 in the morning, I am fine with that. But if it's just I went to an event to support somebody, the event is done, and all of a sudden you want to like stay out. If it's 2 a.m., I want to be back in my room eating. Like, even just like walking in drag makes you fucking hungry. Like,
I so get it.
yeah. So anyway, to me, I have two. One of them is that I'm intimidating.
Mhm.
I don't really think I am. It's like, do I have a strong presence? Of course, I'm a drag queen. If I had a weak presence, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. But it's like you have to be, especially going back to my start of working in straight bars. It's like I had to be the person who had to work twice as hard to get the audience on my side because they're already there to see the same bros play the same set over and over and over again. So it's like, so I'm already having to fight to get you on my side, which makes it so much like it makes it harder, but it makes it so much better for you as a performer. Where it's like those queens are just handed stuff at like the gay bars. It's like fine, it's nice to see you, love you, work, do everything. You can do your nice little 1-2 numbers. That's fantastic. Book me for 45 minutes. I can give you a 45-minute show. Without a doubt. And that's the first one. And then the other one is that I'm shady. I don't think I'm shady. I think I'm very opinionated.
I think
Cause
we can have opinions, but
yeah,
in the way you deliver it is what makes it shady. I think sometimes, not saying you, but like I think how people deliver their opinions is what makes it shady.
yes, it's like that is a good point. Where it's like, because my thing is, I love supporting queer individuals. I do. But I believe in supporting queer individuals that are talented. If you are talented at doing something, I absolutely believe you need support. If you suck at something, I do not think you should get any support. And you should have people telling you that you're bad at it. Because I would rather be that person to be like, have you mad at me than you sit there in front of some like A&R person who's trying to sign you to the record label and they look at you and be like, tilt their head down and be like, I wouldn't sign you if you were the last artist on earth, and then throw you out. Because that's the entertainment industry. That's how like gutted there's like that's how like ruthless they are. If you're not good at something, they will gut you out like a carcass and like eat you dead. That didn't make sense what I said, but
It's
you
okay.
got you got where I was going.
I got it.
But yes, with that anyway, it's a pleasure getting to meet you.
It was nice to meet you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Welcome. And with that being said, this is Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond. And I hope you've enjoyed.
Bye.